Welcome to the Real Retirees of New Jersey, powered by Liberty Financial Group and Artemis Wealth Advisors. Randy and Peggy Fisher want to help you retire once and retire right. Get more information at therealretireesofnewjersey.com. They never throw the first punch, but they're always a knockout.
Today's going to get nuts only because I know many people have probably seen, know, or maybe you've been in a situation like this. I'm just going to title this Financial Infidelity. This is the Real Retirees of New Jersey. Yes. With Peggy and Randy Fisher, my name is Jeff Miles. If you want more information about everything we talk about today on the show, then go check out libertyfingroupllc.com. Without further ado, first of all, Peggy, Randy, how are we feeling right now? I mean, you look like you're ready to party.
I don't know. I got a little bit of anxiety after you just said that. So, financial infidelity. I don't know where we're going with this.
Right. And people who are listening right now, they're like, could you imagine if you're listening to this podcast and you're in the car, let's say, with your significant other, and you hear financial infidelity, or one person's reaching for the volume knob to turn it up. The other one's
looking to climb out the window.
Yeah.
Right. Be safe out there. Wear your seatbelt.
Yeah, there you go.
Hold on to your helmet.
Buckle up, baby.
So this has to do with a woman. She actually went to Reddit's Am I the Bleep Hole, Am I the A-Hole forum. And she was discussing how she's been with her husband for 5 years. He has no idea how much money she has. Here's the interesting thing. So back before they got married, she won the lottery. She won a lottery. I want to say, what was it, like $1 million, something like that? So in this lottery, she has not disclosed to her husband how much she actually has. So she's asking people on Reddit, what should I do? I want some help on this. She says, my reluctance to tell my current significant other about my wealth stems from prior relationships where it's clear in hindsight that my former significant others weren't interested in me, but my money. And she says, that's understandable in the beginning of a relationship, but how did you not feel you were ready to discuss it any time in your 5 years together? Somebody actually had responded to her. And it turns out she's got like a cousin that also won like a $20,000 scratch off and went out and blew the money, bought a boat, and it was gone within a very short period of time. So she's worried about telling her husband of 5 years this gigantic secret. She's got this money in an account somewhere that he has no idea about. When you're in a situation like this, how do you go about breaking that news? Because listen, if you're on the husband end of this, you hear this and you're like, what? Seriously? Where did that come from? And you might be excited about it. But then there's also the other side of that, which is, if you didn't tell me about this,
exactly.
What else is there?
What else are you not telling me about?
Yeah, I got a lot of forensic questions about this one here.
Yeah.
All right. So
Come on, this is crazy.
Yeah. What do you
First
think?
of all, number one, where did she put the money? Right. Is it in a coffee can? Is it under the mattress? Is it a boyfriend's house?
With it, right?
Let's say you win the lottery. Number one is if they were married. Now, did she get this before they got married or while they were married?
She won the lottery. Yeah, this is before they got married.
Okay. So before they got married, but she has to have it in some type of an account, I would assume. I mean, you just can't put, I don't know. Let's just assume it's millions of dollars, right? $1 million. Let's just call it $1 million. If it's in $1 million bucks, and it's in
that was back before they got married. So, I mean, we're talking, if it's in an account that actually is earning money on it, I mean, it could be.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if they actually file taxes, which I'm assuming and hopefully they do, if they file jointly, then there's got to be some type of a 1099 or an interest form that actually pops up from where the money is.
Right.
Unless he actually doesn't have, I mean, I don't know, maybe he has absolutely no clue as to who does the taxes or where it comes from.
Which that
or
could
she's
very
just
well
very
be.
good at, or very good at hiding it. But
right.
I mean, that's one thing. And if she did hit the lottery and she has all of this money and hasn't put it into some type of an investment portfolio or done anything with it, I'm really not sure how astute this lady is as well. So, I mean, so far she's made some crazy choices. But as you just mentioned, what else isn't she telling her husband?
Well, and if you really look at this, there's kind of the whole aspect of what does he do on his end? Let's just hypothetically speaking, because, this is a part that we don't really know is what if they are filing separately? What if they're, filing their own separate returns?
They could.
maybe he's got his own thing going on.
We've seen it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is I'm sure you've seen situations like that.
Yeah, I know that.
We see it all the time.
How do you now get to the next step, which is, okay, I need to tell him about the money that I have in this account?
I mean, what brought her to the point where she actually went to Reddit? That's number one. Does she have friends? Does she have family? Does she have any confidants that she can actually speak to? She's got to go to a social forum and ask for advice from all the knuckleheads in the world. But at what point in the 5-year period that now it led her to the form of some type of guilt or anxiety that she's now sometime, fighting the demons in her noggin that she now needs to come clean with her husband at one point here as to say, hey, I got X number of dollars.
Yeah, but maybe the husband, we don't know the other side of this.
Oh, here we go. I knew this was coming. Yeah, I knew this was coming.
Yeah. Maybe the husband, though, was some kind of spendthrift that, she happened to fall in love with, but she wanted to carefully, keep her money that she had going into before a marriage, which in some states that's not his, right?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but now that, like Randy said, now she wants to come clean, is there a reason for that?
Did they say where she lives?
I don't know if the Reddit article actually says where she lives specifically. It's funny because as I'm looking through a lot of the comments, and I love the way that Reddit's "Am I the A-hole" is set up, because the way you start your response is always YTA, meaning you are the yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Exactly.
And it's. Yeah, go ahead, Peggy.
Well, Jeff, I actually have a story that's very close to this that hits right at home, because my dad, who has passed away, by the way, but my dad was in the process of being separated and getting a divorce from his second wife of 25 years. He was an avid lottery player, right? Had scratch offs, played the Jersey Cash 5, played all the lotteries. And we didn't hear from him for like a couple months. And I said, oh, God, let me just check on him, see if everything's okay. Well, guess what? He won the lottery while he was separated. Again. He won the Jersey Cash 5 of about, Randy, was about $500,000, I believe. $500,000.
It was a good chunk of change.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is while he was separated, right? So when we didn't hear anything, I'm like, something's not right here, yeah? So as he was separated, so I can hit right at home as to some, wise things were said or weren't said. And when I come full circle with this, you're going to be very surprised what happened. So they were separated after 25 years of marriage. He wins the lottery, $500,000. Then all of a sudden he tells me, hey, I got some news I want to share with you. I said, what's the news, Dad? We decided to get back together. I said, oh, because he did figure out that he was going to, in the state of New Jersey, basically give half of that money. They both decided to just keep it whole, stay together, keep the house, keep everything. So that just was a crazy decision on both their parts, that they ended up where they weren't going to have to give half or even just fight about this. He wasn't a fighter. Let's not fight about who's going to get whatever. And in the state of New Jersey, it's an equitable division state, which means property is divided fairly, not 50-50. So in her eyes too, she was like, I'm not getting 50 of this. What could I possibly get of this? And instead, they both just decided to actually stay together.
Jeff, all that means in New Jersey is the guy gets humped.
That's not necessarily true.
That's what it means. When you go to court, they go, okay, instead of 50-50, you get 10, she gets 90. Have a good day.
But that's
what that means.
But that word for the state of New Jersey about a divorce, it says property is divided fairly. Now, what's fair basically is going to be what's fair to a judge.
How do you decide what fair is? Yeah.
Right, to the point where they both decided, well, we're not really going to fight about what's fair. We'll just stay back together and just enjoy the money, right?
Oh my gosh.
And that's what they actually ended up doing, which is just crazy,
So basically, depending on, where they may live or whatnot, and just because of this financial situation, if she tells him, then he may try to make claim to that if for some reason things go south with their relationship. Almost validating exactly why she didn't want to tell
there's a little bit of a problem. I was about to think that there's a little bit of a problem with the relationship now that she's kept it a secret for 5 years as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
Well, It was funny when I looked up how to resolve money issues, right? Number 2 is be transparent, honest, and respectful.
What's number 1?
Honest? I don't know. I don't know about that, you know?
Because if number 2 is be transparent.
Yeah, that's number 2. One was to talk about the financial goals and future expenses, but we missed off on that one totally.
I'm like, right? I would have flip-flopped those two.
Yeah.
When you think about it, the number 1 and number 2 reasons for divorce is what?
Infidelity and finance.
And money issues, exactly.
Actually, it's children.
Okay.
And then finance. And then infidelity. So the infidelity is actually 3. It's actually a byproduct of both those 2.
Yeah.
Again, did a little research for this one.
Yeah,
but, you like that?
Yeah,
but number 1 is money. Number 2 is children. And number 3 then is eventually infidelity. But supposedly all the research that actually shows infidelity comes as a byproduct of either being, ignored or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I mean, there's no excuses to whatever goes on. It is what it is. But, it's one of those things. Think about this. This lady's hiding this thing for 5 years. She actually, maybe she does come clean with this guy. And next thing you know, they live happily ever after. Good for them. Me being a little gambling man here, I would say that they're going to have a bit of a riff. Not only from that, but as we just mentioned, hey, by the way, what else are you hiding? Where you been on Tuesday afternoon at 6 o'clock every day? Or by the way, you're working how much overtime? And are you going on a vacation with your girlfriends? Really? Something like that. But anyway, I mean, this guy could be an absolute dirt bomb, and that's why she's actually hiding it from him.
And that's where I'm at with this.
And good for her. Yeah. But if that's the case, then maybe these two people shouldn't be together. In a lot of the scenarios that we sit down and talk to people about, we do get a lot of people that actually have separate accounts.
Yes.
And I would be surprised to think that they don't know that they actually have different accounts. Maybe they don't have access to it. They may not know the full values of some of those accounts.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But I would be hard pressed to think that a lot of the couples in which we meet don't know that the other spouse has either, let's say extra savings account or checking account or whatever it may be. But it's, I think it's pretty common that people do have it. Now, in my family, my money's is Peggy's and Peggy's money's is Peggy's. So I'm screwed. So you can see I don't have any, number 1, I don't have money to my name.
You
or
have no equity position in this.
I'm lucky I get a meal. Are you kidding me? I'm lucky I get a meal. In fact, half the time I got to forage for myself. So there's nothing made. I got to come home. My kids ate everything else in the world anyway. And then I ask, hey, can you make me something? No, what, are you kidding? Make me something. You make your own something. But anyway, I digress. Forget about financial services. I can't even get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
So I'm going to tell you something that is going to throw this whole story into a complete whirlwind. And the crazy part, and I'll set you up with it this way, is I'm not saying that people should not tell their significant other about their financial situation. However, so this is where people started really calling this woman out. Like, how could you be so dishonest with your husband of 5 years? So she decides that she wants to talk to him. She says, this isn't a happy update. After our daughter fell asleep, I went to talk to my husband. She says the conversation was something like this. Babe, can we talk for a bit? There's something really important I think we should discuss right now. He looks down at his feet and quietly says, now I want to remind you, she's the one with more than $1 million that she won in the lottery, okay? That she hasn't told her husband about for 5 years. Financial infidelity, okay? She says, he looks down at his feet and quietly says, so you know about my affair then?
What, Jeff?
She didn't even get to the point where she was going to tell him about the money. She didn't even get to that point yet. But basically, because his guilty conscience jumps into this. Right.
Well, now we know why she doesn't give this guy any information on her $1 million. I mean, come on.
He starts.
I hope she didn't tell him.
Oh, my God.
He starts crying, admits to having a 9-month-long affair with a younger coworker.
What?
Tells me that on occasions when I was out of town visiting family, they had sex in our bed with our daughter asleep in the other bedroom.
Come on, this is a crazy story. This isn't real.
Not just once, but at least 3 times, she says.
No, come on.
Come on. Is this the same lady that was screaming on the airplane?
She says, obviously, I never had the chance to tell him about my millions, which is honestly the only good thing that happened. Divorce is 99% certain. Yeah.
That's nuts.
This is one of those situations where it's kind of like, okay, when you start out and you hear this story, you're like, well, you know what the right thing to do is. But then as soon as he gets to that point and he's
now
like,
it's
just
no longer the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Listen, this is, I think in marriage, right? I'll play a little counselor here. I mean, especially when it comes to money issues. I mean, there's times, Jeff, when I'll be at Nordstrom Rack or TJ Maxx.
Times?
I'll have a few pairs of shoes. But when I come home, what do I say to you, Rand? I'm like, oh, I went to TJ Maxx, couldn't really find anything.
Yeah.
As I tell my daughter.
And you open the trunk, falls out.
Yeah. Or I sneak up the bags. And then
she's like, don't open that. Don't open that. I'm like, I think I smell something decomposing in your trunk.
Right.
It's the shoes.
It's the shoes.
So, Peggy, you remind me of somebody very close to me, also known as my wife, who when she will tell me, and this is usually she gives it about a 2 or 3 day grace period.
Yeah.
Before I know, and then she always starts it with the very same exact thing, and it is, so I have a confession. And I always respond with, I know. And then she always says, well, how do you know? And I'm like, I've been in this conversation now at
like
least
50
100 times.
Yes.
I know how this goes. I know where it's going to end up. So go ahead.
Oh my God.
That's
but
crazy.
When I come in with those shoes and then Randy would be like, where'd you get those shoes? I'm like, I've had these for like 10 years. You know?
Yeah, okay.
And they were like, yesterday's purchase with the other.
I think we just put on 2 more bedrooms just for spaces for shoes and
for the extra closets,
Sick.
right?
It's nuts. It's nuts. On a side note, I actually found another article very similar to this.
Yeah.
And it was another couple that actually were having a conversation, and the woman basically was asking her husband, hey, let me ask you a question. Every time I give you some money to go out and do whatever it is, you come back with, nothing in your pocket. And every time she gets a couple dollars to spend, he's always ripping her a new you-know-what because she's going to the salon or she gets her hair done or nails done, and he gives her a real hard time, right?
Right.
So she starts now being, a little bit of a gumshoe or, being a little detective here. So she starts to go through some of the accounts, right? Here's what she found. He blew $160,000 on buying baseball cards.
Oh, yes. I saw that. Yep.
Baseball
Thought that they were going to turn into millions one day. I'm sure.
You talk about a great investment, huh? Baseball cards anyway. I mean, hopefully he's still chewing the stale gum. But this is the type of stuff that, you come across, but you think that, these are such outlandish stories. Now, that's a silly story about baseball cards and one guy giving his wife a hard time about her getting her nails done or whatever it is. But these are conversations in which we have with prospective clients and even clients throughout our, 30-year some odd career here. And it's like the faces change. The stories are the same, very similar, but it's different subjects, different values, different things that they've purchased or whatever it may be. But there's always some type of a discrepancy or a fight between what they have, right?
Yeah.
One of the best bits of advice I can ever give anybody is if you got a healthy marriage and you are going to potentially retire together, know what your assets are for a lot of different reasons. Number one, it makes life a little easier. It makes it a little bit smoother. And then God forbid, if something does bad happen to either one of you, and let's talk about the worst thing first, which would essentially be, unfortunately, death. If death happens, at least you know where the assets are, what they are, how to pick them up, how to put them back in place, how to use them to the best of your ability. God forbid you get a divorce or you're getting a divorce, then depending on what side of the aisle you're on, you may want to know what the other person really has, because there are a lot of situations in which we are privy to that couples come in and we know what the other one has, but through, I guess, privacy laws, we can't disclose what the one spouse has to the other spouse because we were told not to disclose the information. Wow. And if they were not privy enough to find that out beforehand, then their attorney's got to go do those things. So, I'm not going to say,
if the attorney doesn't know to go looking, then
you don't know what you don't know, right?
Wow.
Right. And there's only so many paper trails. So if there's a paper trail, you may be able to find it, but there's a lot of times out there that people are pretty good at hiding certain things,
So if anybody is listening out there, the husband, the wife, and you really want to find some stuff out, you should maybe come see us. We could look into the financial planning aspect of this. We'll look and see what you have and figure it out.
Well, putting a personal net worth statement kind of fixes that, right?
Yeah.
So we can, I guess, not tiptoe around the subject. If anybody is a little bit apprehensive of what their spouse may or may not have. But if we sit down and we do a personal financial statement for you, and we basically ask you lots of different questions, and we find out where those assets are, when you go home, you basically have an asset plan, right? You have an idea of, or I should say maybe an asset map. Hey, I got a house, I got a 401k, I got a savings account, I got this, I got that. And you put it all together that way for a lot of good reasons. I mean, listen, hopefully nobody's out there getting a divorce. And if you are getting a divorce, hopefully it's a good reason and you can get on with your life. But if it's for the rest of your life that you're all going to be together and you're going to use these assets to the best of their ability, then
it's
make sure that
you have a financial plan.
Make sure you all know what you have and how to use them to the best of its ability.
I'm going to throw this last thing in there real quick.
Oh, no.
If you are someone and you're curious because you feel like there may be something else going on that you don't know about financially, maybe you reach out to Randy and Peggy and you set up an appointment. And maybe what you do is you just say, as soon as your spouse comes through the door, you say, hey, by the way, I have an appointment set up for us to go talk with Peggy and Randy Fisher about our retirement plan. Because I guarantee you, the initial reaction is going to say everything to what that's going to look like. Because, again, to your point, you're going to be able to know based off of that net worth statement or whatever it may be, when you start pulling all that stuff together, now all of a sudden you realize either A, you had a lot more, or he or she has a lot more that you didn't necessarily know about, or B, and this is the unfortunate side of things, is you thought everything was going really well and there's really not much going on over there. And that could be something that, if you are in that situation, you need to start planning for that and figuring that out like sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
And one other point. Don't be the person that comes through our door with your spouse's account statements in your hand saying you'd like to roll those over.
Yeah,
we can't do that for you.
We can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
We
need the spouse there.
We've had countless interactions with people that said, no, my wife, my husband told me to come in here and move this over. Can you move this over for us?
Nope.
And unfortunately, the answer is no. We would like to keep our jobs. We would like to keep our licenses, and we do not want to go to jail. So in those instances, I'm sorry, we cannot help you. But if you'd like to come in with your spouse, if it's your spouse's accounts, and go over those items, we certainly can. Not a problem.
That's a great way to kind of wrap it up here, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are listening right now and they're just going, there's so many questions that are going through their mind right now. And you know what? The idea is not that you're wanting to all of a sudden have doubt or whatever about your spouse, but due diligence is a very powerful thing when it comes to especially the world of finances and how you're looking at your future retirement, how you're going to set that up. Both people need to be on the same page. So reach out to Randy and Peggy. Get this on the road, because you gotta make sure you're taken care of down the road. Check it out at libertyfingroupllc.com. Again, libertyfingroupllc.com. With the real retirees of New Jersey, Peggy and Randy Fisher. Thank you so much for your time today. Very interesting. Very interesting.
We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of financial and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Investment advisor services offered through Artemis Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Artemis Wealth Advisors is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Randolph A. Fisher, insurance license number 9616074, and Liberty Financial Group, LLC, and Peggy Fisher, national license number 189-42003 and 570-5833.